Hello, everybody. I just had a couple minutes here to talk about something that I've been thinking, or it came up in my head yesterday, and it's not fully fleshed out, but it's an idea where, um, it's the classic idea of like you don't know what you don't know, and you only know what you do know. And of course, that's been around for a long time, and that's been passed around. You know, you've probably heard about it or thought of it yourself. It's a fairly common idea. Basically, as soon as you get to a certain level of knowledge, is from what I've seen, you will all of a sudden realize this concept of like, oh, I don't know more than I do know. So much so that I don't even know, like, I'm not even aware of all the things I don't know. And there's this whole thing where, like, when I was growing up and I was going into my field, I thought that eventually, basically, that eventually I would learn everything, and that I would be able to answer any question or become smart enough to figure anything out, and then I would be able to solve a lot of the problems in physics or science that. And of course, this was all like teenage hubris, and that's whatever. But it's also, even now, I'm slowly coming to terms with like, okay, there's knowing something and there's understanding something. And I am slowly starting to understand the world better, but also I'm starting to understand the idea of not knowing things better. And that kind of, I'm starting to understand that it's strange because I actually can feel as my knowledge base grows and gets stronger and more confident in certain areas, I actually can feel it shrinking to the size that it is, I guess. So, which feels small. So when I knew less, my knowledge base felt larger, and I felt maybe more confident in areas where I didn't know very much, but I'd be like, I know enough, I've heard something about that, I could probably speak on that with some, like, using some logical reasoning and my basic knowledge of the world and science. I could probably speak about that with some level of you know, confidence. But I am finding that more and more I'm seeing my knowledge become better, worldwide and in my field, and it's going up and up, and that is making me feel less and less able to speak on things outside of that knowledge base. And sometimes, and this is probably not good, but like, insofar as to say that, do I know anything about myself or the people in my life, because I haven't studied them. That's a weird way to put it, but I don't know. Anyways, just little things like that. Like, can I really ever know enough about a person to understand them? And that is a whole other subject that I think could have its own video. And this is starting to get a little long already, so I'll try and kind of conclude this. But basically, I am starting to feel my knowledge gaps are getting filled in. But okay, here's an example. At work, we deal with a lot of steel, and so I know a lot about particular types of bolts. But yesterday, someone asked me about a fire hose fitting, for a fire hose. And I had no idea, just because I had never worked with fire hoses before. And so, of course, there was Google, and there's people I can call with those knowledge bases. And so that's all fine. And sharing knowledge is all, that's what it's all about. And so this is probably where community comes in, and having a community knowledge versus a single person having all the knowledge. And that's a good thing. And you get overlap of knowledge, and so it's all good. But it did make me realize that, like, I know a lot about these particular types of bolts, and I know a lot about maybe this process, but that's it. And if anything came up that was outside of that field, I would have to go and I would have to do days of research or hours of research to get even a tiniest amount of knowledge to be able to give some sort of adequate answer to hopefully satisfy that person. So it's just interesting, the narrowness of a person's knowledge, despite knowing so many things and having been alive for so long, and just feeling that, like, lack of omniscience, basically, which is a good thing to come to terms with, of course, because that's reality, but also sort of a bummer when you thought at this point, when child you thought that adult you was going to be all-knowing. So anyways, so that's silly me thinking silly things. So everyone, have a good day. I'm off to work. All right, bye.